Okay. Oh, just a second. I just realized I did something wrong. There. Okay. Now call the meeting of the Contra Costa County, Paratransit Coordinating Council to order. And we will start out by watching a short video. Is that right?
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order N-2920, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should remute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the raise hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens to speak. A 30-second warning will be provided. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the COVID-19 Special Notice for Public Comment Guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
Okay, next we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. And Michael, would you like to lead that?
Michael, I think you're on mute.
This is Michael. Am I being acknowledged?
We can hear you now.
Okay, we do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, etc. Am I being heard? That's my problem.
Yes.
I'm on the phone.
Yep, we can hear you, Michael.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
Together, please. I pledge
Allegiance
allegiance
to the
to
flag
the flag
of the
of the
United
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty
and justice for all.
All right, got through that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Janet, you're on mute.
Yeah. Vicky, would you like to do the roll call, or shall I do it?
I'll go ahead and do it, Chair Abelson.
Okay.
When you hear your last name, please let me know you're here. Committee Member Anderson. Committee Member Bruns. Committee Member Clark. Committee Member Garcia. Committee Member Cooney.
Here.
Thank you. Committee Member Dajali.
Here.
Committee Member Hammond.
Here.
Thank you. Committee Member Ibarra.
Yes, I'm here.
Committee Member Ridgway. I'm sorry, Committee Member Kamara. Committee Member Ridgway.
Here.
Thank you. Committee Member Perry.
Here.
Committee Member Reese Brown. Committee Member Timothy. Vice Chair Smith. Chair Abelson.
Here.
Okay. Please note
Okay,
that
thank
Vice Chair
you.
Smith, Committee Member Anderson, Committee Member Bruns, Kamara, Reese Brown, and Timothy are all absent.
Oh, okay. Okay, with that, we will go on to public comment. And I'd like to ask if there's any public comment on items that are not on the agenda. Is there any public comment present?
We did not receive any public comment.
Okay. So we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is approval of the summary of actions. And it would be of the PCC meeting of January the 25th of this year. If anyone would like to speak from the public, please raise your hand. But we don't have any members of the public present, right? Or there's somebody?
We don't have any hands.
No hands? Okay. Then we'll go on to the next item. Oh, let's see.
We need to vote on that, I think.
So we need a motion.
I make the motion.
Well, I'm a little confused here. Oh, the
So we're-
summary of actions, I see. Okay,
Member
So-
Dowcelli, I
And-
wish
and then-
to make the motion.
okay. And is
Motion
there a
by
second?
Dowcelli.
Okay. All in
second. This is
favor,
Ridgeway.
please say aye.
Oh,
Ridgway seconded.
Pardon? Oh, you said aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Are there any
I will
other
call the vote.
comments? Okay, great.
Chair Abelson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Committee Member Garcia, how do you vote?
Hello.
Committee Member Garcia, how do you vote?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure what we're voting on. I had a connection issue, so that's why I had to
Oh,
go back in onto the meeting. I
the summary
apologize.
of minutes, the summary of actions from the last meeting.
I didn't attend the last meeting. It was Jean Clark, and she's not attending today.
Would you like to abstain?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Committee Member Cooney?
Aye.
Committee Member Dajali?
Aye.
Committee Member Hammond?
Aye.
Committee Member Ibarra?
Aye.
Committee Member Ridgway?
aye.
Committee Member Perry?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously by majority present.
Okay, great. With that, we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the regular agenda items. Excuse me. Did I get that right? Let's see. No, the next item. Oh, no, the Ross. I'm a little confused. So are we ready to do the consent calendar or we just did it?
There is no action items in the consent calendar, they're just for
all-
information.
We already did it?
So it's just informational. You can take comment or
Oh, so we're at item 6A right now?
we're on 6, yes, A and B.
Okay, So are there any comments on 6A or B, which is the membership
Yes,
roster?
this
Yes.
is Member Dowgelli. I have a comment on A,
Okay,
and that is I am not the vice chair anymore, and it still lists me as vice chair.
oh, okay.
We will update our records.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else from anyone else? Okay, why don't we vote on items A and B separately since there is a change? So,
So these are
do
just
we-
informational items, Chair Abelson.
okay.
We'll
So
make the
then,
change. We'll make the change to the roster.
Okay, thank you, Peter. And there's also a list of upcoming authority meetings. Do you have any comments on this to start off, Peter?
Nope. It's just there for
Okay.
your information.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on then and so we don't need to vote on this one?
No.
No, okay, so thank you. So we'll move on to item number 7, which is the regular agenda items. And the first one is an overview of the Fair Political Practices Commission Form 700 filing and Assembly Bill 1234 ethics certification requirements, and that will be by Director of Administrative Services, Terry Ann Grover. Terry Ann, would you like to take this item now?
Yes, thank you, Chair Wilson. Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. As Chair just mentioned, I'm Terry Ann Grover, the Director of Administrative Services for the Authority. And today I'm going to be providing just a brief overview of the Form 700 filing requirements that are mandated by the Fair Political Practices Commission and then Assembly Bill 1234 ethics training requirement. The Political Reform Act requires the authority to adopt a conflict of interest code that establishes rules for reporting personal assets and designates all agency positions that participate in the decision-making process. A conflict occurs when a member makes a decision that affects their personal assets or in which they may have a financial interest. So some examples may include voting on a recommendation for a contract where the member's spouse is an employee of the contracting firm. However, it is not a conflict to vote on the annual paratransit allocations where the member is a writer or representative. As per Ordinance 1401 adopted by the authority in 2014, members of the Paratransit Coordinating Council were added as designated positions that required a filing of a Form 700. I have since done a review on that and came back from the county that this committee was still required to file a Form 700. As a committee member of the authority, you regularly participate in governmental decisions by making recommendations to the board that are regularly adopted. And these include issues affecting paratransit services in the county, review and prioritize paratransit funding applications requested by the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, serving as a forum for paratransit service providers, consumers, and agencies that serve seniors and persons with disabilities to discuss issues of mutual interest, and to assist in the resolution of concerns related to paratransit service delivery and use. In addition to promoting the development and coordination of a comprehensive integrated paratransit system, and then other paratransit duties that may be assigned. The filing requirements do require an assuming office Form 700 filing within 30 days of being appointed. And then annually on April 1st, we have that April 1st deadline coming up here in about 2 weeks. And then, and that will be on April 1st this year as it doesn't fall over the weekend or a holiday, which would go to the next day. And then there's also the leaving office form requirement that is within 30 days of leaving office. So it's really important that when you do leave a committee that you provide a home email address and contact information so that we can get that Form 700 filing requirement to you and you can get it turned in within the 30 days. You report on the previous 12 months for the filings, and for the annual, it's the previous calendar year. If you need any advice on an item or what to report, The FPPC, the Fair Political Practices Commission, does have an advice line that you can reach out to, as well as a guide of commonly asked questions. There is a late penalty on the Form 700 filing of $10 per day, up to a maximum of $100. So you want to make sure that you get your filings turned in on time. In 2017, we did implement an electronic paperless filing system called NetFile, which if you're filing that way, you're familiar with. But they can also be filed with a hard copy, sent via mail with a wet signature. And there's really no other options for filing. We can't accept them by email. So if you want to file electronically, you have to go through that system. And majority of our filings are now being received electronically. We did send out the annual filing requirement on January 20th with reminders on January 30th and March 1st. And a few more will be coming out here in the next 2 weeks. And the nice thing about doing your Form 700 filing in the system is that it does retain all that information for the next year or for a future filing. And if you do want to e-file, I did send out that initial email notification, and it has the account address for the web link that you can click on to go there. You can, if you forgot your password from a year ago, you can go to click the lost your password link to reset it. And you do want to make sure, it's very important that you use the email that the notification comes to. If you were to use a different email from a different agency, you may file a filing on that agency's behalf instead of ours. And then another requirement, in addition to the Form 700 filing, is the ethics training. So as a local transportation authority, we are subject to the government code, which requires ethics training. It requires the training to be done every 2 years and then within 6 months of being appointed to the committee. And it's basically on general ethics principles and ethics law relevant to your public service. It focuses on establishing and maintaining public trust, and that the representatives of the authority act with integrity, economy, fiscal prudence, and in a manner that retains and inspires the trust and confidence of the people, our county that we serve. The Fair Political Practices Commission does offer a free training if you need an avenue for this training. And you do want to make sure that you take the local officials training, as they also have a state officials, and it does not satisfy the requirement. At the completion, it does print out, you're able to obtain a certification. It does print out how long you were in the training. So you want to make sure that you meet the 2-hour minimum requirement. And you'll work with Firdaus on this. So in your ethics training, you'll want to get to Firdaus, where you'll work with me on the Form 700 filing. So that concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions that you have.
This is Member Daugelli.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have 3 different agencies that I'm working with, how could I find out if the filing was received? I did receive an email saying your filing has been completed, but I just want to check. Is there any, like Peter or Fifi, would they know if the agency has received my filing?
Yeah, I have received your filing.
And what about the ethics training? My records indicate it's not due until next year.
Our records indicate that it expired February 21st of last year. So you would want to get that certification to Fifi as soon as you can.
But see, the problem is my records show that I took it last January.
Maybe can you just furnish Firdaus with the new certifications? You can update the records.
Excuse me, what do I have to?
Yeah, if you took it last year, it's good for 2 years. So if you can just get that certification over to Fifi, she can update the records.
How would I do that? I don't have access.
Committee member Daugelli, we can work together offline to get that information to me.
Right. How will I do that?
We can work together offline to figure it out.
I mean, will I phone you or?
Yes, I will give you a phone call and we can arrange that.
And right after this meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Oh, Chair Abelson, you're on mute.
My status keeps getting changed. I do my training through a combination of AC Transit, BART, and I forget who the other agency is, but anyway, they all do it. BART, AC Transit, and East Bay Paratransit, because they have to do all three. And they do it together. And I believe they aren't doing, when are they, Kim, do you know when they're doing that?
The next one is coming up on April 6th. That actually was the question I had, which is we can just send that copy of our certificates to you all. Correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If you took it within the last 2 years or less than that, then yeah, you can just send the certificate over. And then at the end of the 2 years, just furnish us with a new one. You don't have to take it through our agency or through the FPPC. As long as it's local, we'll accept it.
Perfect.
So Kim,
Is that
you'll be
training
doing that?
offered?
Yes,
Member
we will be
Ridgway, is
having
that training offered free? Is to anyone, or is it just to those 3 select agencies?
we just always did it through the 3 agencies. It's a trainee that is a trainer, excuse me, who is contracted out by BART. So we just roll all of the 3 committees because there's so much cross committee members. So I can ask the question. Let me just also say that for committee members who are not available that day, we also give them the online training links so they can take them on their own, and then they just furnish us with a certificate. But our 2 years is up in May, so we're having ours on the 6th of April.
Okay, yeah, that would be nice if we could piggyback off yours.
Hey, I'll ask, because again, it's online this year as opposed to in the past. So, the more the merrier. I'll throw an email out and see what fish we catch with that.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
So it'll be on Zoom, right? So, oops.
I think the Blue Ribbon Task Force would be very happy to see this cooperation amongst agencies to do this kind of stuff.
So it'll actually be on Zoom. I couldn't quite hear the whole thing that was said. So
yes, it would be Zoom webinar.
Great. Thank you. Is there anything else on this item? Do you have anything else for us, Terry Ann?
I do not. There's no other questions. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay. The next item is 7B, which is a presentation and review of the fiscal year 21-22 allocation for the Measure J countywide transportation for senior and people with disabilities. And it's also known as Program 15. And so Peter, you're going to take this item?
Yep. Thank you, Chair Abelson.
Thank you.
So I wanted to give everybody an update. I think we talked about this last month as well, or 2 months ago, but with COVID last year, we took a very conservative approach in our projection for program funding through Measure J, and we initially set what we thought the annual projections to be a total, so it's total countywide for all the programs, of $77.5 million. Through the year, what we found, in particular in Contra Costa County, as most of the counties, I think, in the Bay Area have experienced actual very little reduction in revenues. One exception is the county of San Francisco has seen extreme loss in sales tax revenues. But the rest, for the majority of the other counties, it's held pretty steady. And as a matter of fact, we are taking a mid-year budget revision to our board this week on Wednesday to increase that projection for this current fiscal year 2021 to 95 million. So at the same time, there will be the second month allocations that go out through the program to all the paratransit operators, reflective of that new amount. So that's the good news. The other I think good news is we don't actually have the projections yet for 21-22. Those usually come the end of March, but we are still anticipating at least the same 95 million. We don't see any reason to believe that revenues would go down with hopefully the COVID pandemic starting to, get behind us with vaccinations coming out. So we're anticipating again a strong revenue for the program. Now, my question to you all, I'd like to get some feedback. Last year, we suspended doing the claim just because all of the operators were full speed ahead trying to keep services on the street. And as you know, we were just a couple months into the pandemic and everybody was super busy with service. So now it seems like a year later, everybody's still really busy, this time getting people to vaccine clinics. So again, and I certainly would like to hear from the operators on this. I'm wondering if we should again suspend the claim process for this year, just to give the operators an opportunity to continue focusing on, getting people to vaccination sites and not have to spend their time doing the paperwork. I'd also like to hear from Joanna Pollock on this. She's on the line. It's interesting because 5 of the operators that received this funding are in West County, and there's only 2 that one in Central and one in East that received the funding. So I depend a lot on WCTAC and Joanna to help give direction when it comes to the operators in West County on this. I feel pretty comfortable with with Tri-Delta and County Connection just because they are ADA providers and, regulated significantly by the federal government and the state on how they spend their funds. And the same thing with AC Transit and WestCat in West County. The 3 city operations are a little bit different in that they provide great service and absolutely necessary. It's just a little bit different from a record keeping perspective on our side. So I'm just kind of throwing it out there how people feel about it. If the operators feel like they're just completely bogged down right now, what we can do is go ahead and allocate the funds and then in a couple months do a follow-up with, how are you spending the money? I think that's what Joanna did this last year with the 3 city operators, just to get kind of some feedback and a report from them on that. So just anxious to hear what you all think about that.
No one's jumping in, and Peter, you called me out.
Yeah, sorry.
That's
Just
all right.
off
I
the
am
cuff.
more than willing to talk about this. So the cities of El Cerrito, Richmond, and San Pablo do have a similar but different program from the other transit operators, and they're city-based programs, and we've heard a lot about them, especially from the city of Richmond. Recently, when the second half of the 20B allocation was ready, as well as the second half of the 15, I went out and did a questionnaire update with each of the cities just to see how things are going and how COVID's affected their service and what their services, how they've pivoted. So I got information. I don't know if anyone's here from Richmond. Is anyone here from Richmond today?
No.
I think that's the only program because they did so many new things that it's probably still evolving, or it kind of went forward and then went backwards, or they were going to do some things and they didn't have money to do it. So I would say that I'm absolutely confident that San Pablo and El Cerrito have programs that are satisfactorily, if not exceptionally, pivoting to provide what's needed for their residents. I am a little concerned about Richmond, but maybe you and I offline, Peter, can have a conversation about that.
Okay.
Thanks. That's my 2 cents. I hope everyone's.
What about San Pablo?
They're doing great. Are
they in the same category?
Well, I got a questionnaire and I got a lot of data from San Pablo, and I stay in constant contact with them, and their programs have really continued to be more of a meal delivery service, just like El Cerrito's. But, things are going to change, I hope, in 2021. And I think some of these senior centers are going to reopen, and there'll be a different trip characteristics, people leaving their homes more and going out more. But I feel pretty confident that I know what their programs are up to and how the money is being spent. maybe with the exception that Richmond needs a little more, I don't know, I don't even know what to call it, just, contact. Does that sound right, Janet? Does that make sense?
I actually don't know anything about what's going on in Richmond, so I'm
So,
not a good person
their
to
program
answer.
came before the PCC and they were asked to develop more aggressive outreach and to do a lift program. I think this was all when you were chair and also WICTAC board. And so I brought to the WICTAC board an update last month that looked at each of the city programs and how they're doing in the COVID environment. And Richmond still, they just, they're different. They're different. I can't hear you because you're muted, hon.
Still muted, Janet. You're still muted, Janet.
Is that better?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yay. I know what the program is, at least I think I do, but I don't have any idea how it's doing in the current environment under COVID.
Right.
But I think that what would we on all of them, I guess I'd ask the same question. Are we just postponing doing this or eliminating doing the review, or what's being proposed here? I'm a little confused.
I think what I'm starting to feel from the conversation to date is that maybe we can do a revised claim that kind of, have 3 or 4 questions asking, agencies what they've done during COVID and how they see their recovery, happening over the next year. I think asking the questions about ridership, in the tables and the budget stuff is probably unnecessary. I mean, the ridership number is going to be just completely different than they were. So if you start looking at comparisons from the previous year, you start raising more questions than, and you kind of already know the answers, right? It was COVID, that's going to be the answer to everything. So maybe just more of a streamlined thing.
Yeah, but the thing that I don't know that would come up that directly that way, but I think it's an interesting thing to look at. And I think one of the reasons why I heard you sort of imply that they're doing a good job is because what's happened, I think, is that they've reacted to the needs of the community.
Yep.
As they changed.
That's right.
During COVID, rather than saying, this is what we do and that's all we do. And, they're not doing it that way. They're doing a much better job from what I know about it.
That's why I think if we just, maybe ask 3 or 4 questions regarding, how their service pivoted, what changes they made, what changes they can, or what they continued to do. And then just kind of what they think their recovery is going to be like once they, I mean, right now I'm certainly everybody's uber focused. I'm sorry to use the word uber focused on, getting people vaccines and getting them to vaccine clinics, which is what should be happening. So if that's okay with everybody, I think that's the direction I'll go. Is I'll just tone down, give everybody a chance to, submit something under signature that the programs are still running.
Is that the sort of thing that requires a motion, or would you want a motion for, or what kind of?
I don't think we put this down as an action item because it actually came to me. I started thinking about it just in the last couple of days. So I think just with your direction, there's no real requirement either under the Measure J expenditure plan or in the bylaws that there be this official claim. It's just something we've always done. So I think it's okay just to, with your kind of direction and the comments I'm hearing, to go ahead and staff can make a decision on this to, do more.
Are there any other comments from committee members? Can you hear that? Can you tell I'm talking?
Yep, we can hear you. I don't see any comments. Nobody's raising their hand.
Okay, I think I will take that to be a sign of agreement.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move forward with that then.
Okay. But I do think that they have done a really good, from what I know about it. And I don't know everything every city's been doing, but the general thrust of it that I've seen is that the purpose of the money is to make lives better.
Yep.
And that's what's happening.
Yep.
In a very imperfect world.
Right. Right.
So,
agreed.
And if anything, I would just say thank you very much to the providers for doing that.
I think this is an opportunity to document some of that work that's been done. So.
Yeah. Okay. So are we ready to move on to the next item?
Yep.
So that was 7B, right?
That was
so
7B.
The next item on our agenda is 7C, which is selection of the fiscal year 21-22 Measure J Program 15 Claim Form Revision Subcommittee. So we don't need to do that, Ben.
Yeah, unless you're interested in just reading over the which I can send out anyway. I know there's probably no reason now to do this subcommittee, but happy to, if you still want to go through that process, we will be getting these kind of questionnaires in. So if people want to look through those, that's fine. But otherwise, we don't need to do that. It's just an extra
You would just
step.
pass that.
It's an extra step that's going to take time away from,
service provision
at this point. So I leave that up to you, Chair Abelson, if you want to go ahead and do a subcommittee.
Okay. Well, let's see if there's any comment on it. Otherwise, if they're already doing it, it would be interesting to have it emailed to people.
Okay.
So they are already doing it. Are they already doing this form, Peter?
No, we'll set it up. I still need to write up the form and send it to them. What we can do is we can go over it all in our May meeting.
Okay. Is that okay with everybody? Or is that a problem for anybody?
Would be, hi, this is Lisa. I think it would be great to just for myself, I'd like to see what everybody's doing, just to see if there's any new ideas that I don't know about that, we could use somehow, or just for sharing information.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Nobody has to go through a lot of work to put that together.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We agreed on that?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. So are we just simply ready to move on to the next item?
Yep.
We are. So D is the operator's update on current services provided and vaccine distribution during COVID, during the COVID crisis.
So we had a good discussion on this at our last meeting about vaccine distribution, and I know the bus operators, at least, that the small operators that meet, have had lots of discussions about issues they've had with vaccine distribution. I will update you that the governor has put transit operators in the category of essential workers to get their vaccines. So, and I believe in some counties in the Bay Area that had already happened. The transit operators were able to convince their local health officials that transit operators needed to get some priority drivers when they, so that they could transport people to vaccine clinics safely. So now it's a statewide thing. And so that's been kind of an ongoing battle with the operators over the last few weeks. So just curious to hear, again, it was 2 months ago since we met, and at the time things were pretty bleak sounding from a vaccination perspective. Just curious, and I think everybody would be interested to hear from each of your perspectives, if that's changed, if things are getting better, if some new programs have popped up that have helped, so on and so forth. So
So do you want to, or would the operators like to provide any input at this time? Who's here from
Sorry,
the
this is
operator?
Kim
Hi, Del.
Ridgway. I
Hi,
cannot
Kim.
figure out, being a co-host, how to actually raise my hand. So I've been doing this reaction thing, so I apologize for that.
That's okay.
I do have a quick update from the East Bay Paratransit and AC Transit side. So our East Bay Paratransit staff, both the operators as well as the general office, have been going through vaccinations. The 19 of the call center staff at East Bay Paratransit received their first vaccinations on the 11th, and then 58 of them received a second dose on the 12th. So we have been working with all in Alameda and the city of Alameda to coordinate both transportation for vaccinations. AC Transit has set up free shuttle services from Coliseum BART and the Eastmont Transit Center for free shuttles to the Coliseum mass vaccination site, as long as an individual can prove that they have an appointment just by their email. The site in Oakland is 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., and we're providing shuttle service back and forth from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then, of course, there's a rollout with AC Transit operators to make sure that they're being vaccinated as well.
I have a question about that. Is that just for Alameda County?
It is. At this point, because, well, as far as the free shuttles, you mean, Janet? The free shuttle to the Coliseum?
I mean, could a person who could a user who lives in a paratransit rider, let's say, who lives in Contra Costa County actually use that service?
If you were to book a ride on East Bay Paratransit to get, you mean to get to the Coliseum?
Yeah.
I guess they're okay. So then, yes, if you have an appointment and your appointment is at the Mass Vac site, then absolutely.
Could that happen if you live in Contra Costa County?
Yeah, as far as I know, you're just booking the ride. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Peter.
I'm not sure. I actually have gotten my I have my 2 vaccines. I have Moderna, and I got them both by taking East Bay Paratransit. The first one, the driver waited with, and they were both at the Richmond Auditorium, which for me was quite convenient. But happenstance, shall we say, because you just sort of get it where you get it. Not, you don't get to say what, you know, it could have been someplace I couldn't get to. The site, I mean, because they didn't really think about how do you get there very well. But anyway, on the first one, the driver waited for me, and it was very convenient. The second one was not that way. I waited a long time for the next ride. So long, in fact, that one of the workers there waited with me because they were concerned that I wasn't going to get picked up. But I was just wondering if, if you live in Contra Costa County, if you were included in the, if we can go into, especially my area, because we're right next to Alameda County, and if we can actually go into that program that you just are talking about now and get a ride.
Well, I think what it comes down to first and foremost is once you make your appointment, where are they directing you to get your vaccination, right?
Who do you make the appointment with? Do you know? Oh, do you know who they make a ride with? Because there's lots of ways to make an appointment for a ride. I mean, I'm sorry. There's lots of ways to make an appointment for a shot. You can make it, for example, at Kaiser. You can make it in Contra Costa County, the county health department. Then other places too. I just don't know what they are. So people are having users are having a lot of trouble with that. That's what I would say. It's not
To
like
answer the question on the appointment side, I can just tell you that once the appointment is made, then an individual can book a ride to get to a site. Now, I know for a fact through—
That's what I did.
Okay, so I know for a fact that through the Coliseum Mass Back site, East Bay Paratransit does have priority access to pick up and drop off passengers, and there is a specific appropriate waiting area for those passengers. So we are working in coordination with that site to make things as smoothly as possible.
So do you have to, do they pick you up at your house?
Yeah, it's a pickup drop off. Yes.
Okay. A regular paratransit.
You got it.
Okay. Good. Okay. Thank you. So did you have anything else you were going to add on
That's all I had.
that?
Anything from any of the other
Does anybody else
operators?
have anything? Pardon?
I was going to say anything from any of the other operators on the line. They're all shy.
They're here?
They're all shy.
Who's here and being shy?
Deanna from Tri-Delta Transit, Bridget from El Cerrito, and Maria from San Pablo.
Maybe we could ask them.
Deanna's hand is up.
Okay, great.
I'll bite.
Volunteer.
So we kind of, in our department, there's two of us, and we hadn't heard anything from the upper level, meaning Jeannie and Steve, as far as any requests for trips to get the vaccine. But we've been really lucky because we have senior paratransit 65 and over. We've had passengers reach out to us on their own, a lot of times husband, wife, and they say, hey, I have a COVID vaccine appointment tomorrow. I need senior service. So my coworker and I have been taking applications over the phone for customers, putting them in the system and scheduling their ride to get to their shots. But we've been kind of keeping it on the down low over here because we didn't want to get bombarded. And it just recently came out that we were doing that for our passengers. So yeah, just don't post it on your social media.
And who are the others? Maybe they could tell us what they do.
So
Other operators?
I'm El Cerrito. We've had a couple of seniors that have inquired if we would go outside of our service area to take people to vaccination appointments in Richmond. And we had let them know that if it's within times when we have our drivers available, that we would be willing to take them to appointments in Richmond. But we have not had any actual appointments booked for rides to COVID. So the seniors that have inquired, we've let them know that we're willing to do it if we have drivers available, but we haven't actually done any rides yet.
So I'll add as well something I was going to mention earlier and I forgot. So the transit operators all work collaboratively to put together a healthy transit plan, and in response to what they were doing for COVID to keep buses clean and have people wear masks, including drivers and passengers. And they have a dashboard that shows specifically, on a star system, 0 to 5 stars, how they're doing in certain performance areas. So just recently in the Healthy Transit Plan, they have also come up with a link that shows where the vaccination sites are in every county and the bus routes and BART routes that people would take to get to that particular vaccination site. And also each agency's efforts if they are providing free service to vaccination sites, and several agencies are. So what I can do is I can have Fifi follow up with, she can send out that link to everybody for the Healthy Transit Plan. And then it'll provide information that, if you get inquiries on transit. Now, I will say that right now it hasn't been populated with all of the smaller operators' information. It kind of started out. So BART is the lead agency on this Healthy Transit Plan. And so it has information on BART and AC Transit and Muni and some of the larger operators, but they're also over time starting to populate information as the small operators provide that to BART. And so they're updating that information on the webpage every day. So if the agency isn't in there when you click on it, it probably will be in the next couple of days. So I'll just throw that out as well, that Fifi will send that out. I have a couple follow-up items to send out to everybody, and that'll be one of them.
Does anybody have any questions they want to ask on any of the operators?
I just want to make a comment. This is Joanna Pollock at WICTAC. So the efforts being made, and I'm not sure if it's County Public Health or Choice and Aging or whoever was arranging for these mobile vaccination clinics, I have heard great things about them, not just from Debbie Toth herself, but when going out to deliver vaccines to our frail, elderly, and some also disabled residents has worked extremely well, instead of asking them to come to a vaccination site and wait for appointments. So I just want to point out that additional service is not just the vaccine, it's eliminating the need for a transportation trip. So that's my 2 cents.
Anybody else?
We're not seeing any. Nope.
Nope. Okay, then I think that means that we're through with that item. Did you get all the information you needed, Peter?
Yep.
I think we maybe got a little bit more. That's okay. So now we're down to 8A, right? And I don't think there's been a meeting since the last meeting. So there's no new report other than to say, I would say service kind of is continuing as it was, which is to say, at least the service that I ride, which is East Bay Paratransit. And it seems to be done in a very efficient way, on time, no waits for riders. It's really, at least where I ride, which is East Bay Paratransit, is going really well. The rest of it, I'm not riding, so I don't know. But anyway, I think, I have nothing but kudos. Anybody else say anything about that? Okay. The next item is the Senior Mobility Action Council. Is there anybody here to represent that?
Mary's not here, so
we'll leave that for next time.
I don't know that anybody else is on the SMAC.
Okay, so we'll go to item number 9, which is correspondence and communications. And does anyone want to add an item for discussion for the
Yeah,
next meeting?
I wanted to mention something. And again, this will be in the information that Fifi sends out to everybody, but on Monday, March, and thank you, Joanna, for getting me this information. Monday, March 29th, from 1:30 to 3:30, the Alameda County Transportation Commission is hosting a joint paratransit advisory and planning committee and paratransit technical advisory committee meeting that's focusing on COVID-19 recovery and transportation for seniors and people with disabilities. And it has the meeting will have 3 panelists, of which one of our shining stars, Rashida Kamara, is on the panel, as well as Erin Prem, who is the executive director of a mobility management agency in San Diego County called Facilitating Access to Coordination, or FACT, and Kathy Pereira, who is the director of Access Transit Service Delivery for Coastal Mountain Bus Company in Vancouver, BC. So there's 3 extremely knowledgeable people who have been providing service during COVID-19 that if you're interested in participating, there is an RSVP that you will need to fill out if you want to go to that. And like I said, I will have Fifi send this email out so you get more information and can.
Is it on Zoom?
Yes, it's on Zoom. Sorry.
It's on Zoom. Yeah. So you can just email it out to everybody, and then anybody who wants to attend needs to
sign up. And then they'll receive all the Zoom information directly from Alameda County.
It sounds great.
Yeah, it does sound interesting.
Well,
thank Joanna for getting that information.
So is it in the morning or afternoon or evening?
It's 1:30 to 3:30 in the afternoon.
Okay. And anybody have anything else, or do you have anything else, Peter?
That's all I have.
Okay. Then that's finished. Any future agenda items that anybody would like to put on the agenda on any topic?
Member Daugelli?
Go ahead.
Well, just, I'm not sure this would be an agenda item, but when will a decision be made about when we're going to go back to having in-person meetings, or how is that going to work in the future?
That's a great question. And I don't think anybody has an answer to that yet. If it'll be the decision of the governor to recall the executive, or whatever they do, the executive order that's allowing for these remote meetings. So I think the authority is hopeful that there could at a minimum be some hybrid where, some people are in the room and some people can still Zoom in, so to speak. But it's a great question, Michael, and nobody has an answer to that at this point. So we're just all plugging along as we have for the last year.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Do you have a preference?
Well, because I have a stupid phone, obviously attending a meeting would be appropriate for me, but we have to do what we have to do, and I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Anybody else have anything they want to add on the agenda? Okay. Not hearing or seeing anything. That is the end of our meeting. And except to thank everybody for coming. And I think we also want to thank all the operators. I think they're doing a fantastic job, and everybody I hear says that the operators are doing a fantastic job of providing service in a very unsatisfactory time, I guess you could say. So I think we owe them a round of applause. Thank you.
Yep.
And with that, we're ready to adjourn to the next meeting, which is scheduled for May 17th at 2. And I'm pretty positive it will be by Zoom, right?
I think it still will be. Yep.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you, everybody, for coming. And
Thank you.
for all your input.